Welcome to the Leader More podcast. Our motive is to pass on what we've found helpful over the years through leading teams, running operations, and dealing with life's challenges. We hope you enjoy. So in a couple of months' time, I'll be turning the ripe old age of 44. And over the past 6 or so months, I've been preparing to play in my 33rd season of Rugby League. Now, to give some context, the competition I'm preparing to play in isn't a Masters-style tournament weekend or an over 40s competition or anything like that. It's NRL WA's first grade men's opens full season competition. Now, although Western Australia is traditionally not a rugby league state, it certainly has plenty of well-prepared and talented players competing in this competition. Some of which have played NRL, some of which have played in the Queensland Cup, the New South Wales Cup, and the other NRL elite pathways, as well as the English Super League. So players past and present have competed in those competitions and gives you a little bit of an idea of the quality of the competition. So it's a serious one and not just a social one that you turn up to once a week for a bit of a kick and giggle. So you may be asking, what the hell are you doing that for? And for me, it's very much a why not. I remember watching something, some footage of the legendary French soccer player Thierry Henry talk about if he wasn't playing professional football, what would he be doing? And his response was, I would still be a football player. I'd be playing or competing somewhere else in any competition I could play in. And I certainly relate to that. Rugby league's been a big part of my life. I've started playing when I was 6 years of age, and it has shaped me the person I am today and has given me so many benefits. And I enjoy playing. So it's a why not. If I'm physically able to, and I can make the time, it's a why not. So the stigmas that go in with competing in your 40s, you think about people who play sport in their 30s and they're probably looked at and judged as, oh, well, you're a bit old for this, what the hell are you doing? And certainly when you get to 40 years of age, there's a lot of that. The other one that goes with being a little bit older is you've normally got a family and a responsibility there. And for me, that's something that I have, having 3 children and a wife. I have a family responsibility and plenty of things that could take me away from focusing on something like this. Again, for me, if I'm able to find a way to balance that and devote the time to the preparation and to the season, again, why not? The other thing that stops older players still competing is being physically able to. Now, I've been very blessed to be able to get through my career without having any injuries that have given me any long-lasting effects. I've certainly had my fair share of broken bones, whether that's collarbones, sternums, thumb, and my big old nose has copped it about 10 or so times. I've certainly had no knee reconstructions or shoulder reconstructions, which are big ones that stop people from continuing to compete. So, like I mentioned, very lucky to be able to still be able to physically move around without any soreness or anything like that from injuries. It's not to say that the physical aspect isn't a challenge, because it's probably the main challenge. Being prepared in the position that I play in the forwards and specifically the back row, being able to play the full game, 80 minutes against the biggest bodies on the field, being able to get through anywhere from 5 to 6 kilometers of running, which isn't straight line running like you would be just going for a 5K run, certainly getting up and down off the ground, sprints, back, forward, contact, wrestling, being able to take contact. So that is certainly a challenge, being able to move around and be able to be prepared well enough to do that. And then the other aspect physically is the recovery side of things. But there's so much talk about, the reasons why you wouldn't do anything like most things in life, but just that, the benefits of being fit and healthy and continually to live a healthy lifestyle and the discipline that forces you to have to be able to be prepared is something that I find extremely helpful and has the ability to be able to keep me in good shape well into my 40s. So I certainly wanted to not make this a how I prepare for a season episode or anything like that, or talk through all the different training things that you do to prepare. It's very much focused on breaking down some stigmas of competing while you're older and talking about the benefits of team sports and particularly contact sports that I see and I've been able to get throughout my life. But as it is a big part of the challenge and the physical side of things, to give a bit of an idea and outline of what I do to prepare is something that I also wanted to do. As I mentioned, been preparing for, good on 6 months or so. As part of my business, High Performance Leaders, we run a range of leadership challenges that involve moving considerable distances. So throughout October, November and December, when we were running those leadership challenges, I needed to ensure that I was well enough prepared to be able to complete those challenges with the participants. So a week would look like through November and December is 70 kilometers of running throughout the week. So broken down into 10 kilometers each morning, and then on a weekend run, a Saturday or a Sunday, throwing in a longer run to make up the 70 kilometers. That longer run may be 20 kilometers, depending upon which week it may be 30 or 40. So 70 plus kilometers throughout a week. During that time also, to enable, I suppose, being prepared for a season, I've also got to be lifting heavy and being able to be physically strong enough and put in the foundational work from a strength point of view to be ready to go for the season that's starting in a couple of weeks. So being able to run at nearly 100 kilos over those distances repetitively, and as well as lifting heavy. There were some months there as well where I wanted to trim down some weight, so it would enable that I'd be able to run more efficiently and trim a couple of kilos. So I was in a calorie deficit for one of those months, and there were some competing factors that certainly weren't aligned there. I base my weekly schedule around getting up early. I love getting up early. For me as a parent and running a business, that's my time to set my foundation of being ready to absorb the stress that's going to come my way throughout the day. So getting up at 4:30, being on the move, whether that's walking the dog or running the dog before 5 o'clock, getting that through, whether that's an hour doing 10K or whether that's just getting through 3 to 5Ks of walking or running to be able to keep in shape and keep weight low, and then moving into a 45 to 60 minute strength workout. So that would be my morning routine, getting that done and balancing that time away from my family when they're sleeping and no one is up. I'm doing that so I'm not chewing into any time that I have with my family. Again, that benefit of being well prepared for the day is something that I struggle without. I find when I'm getting up later and getting up when other people are up, and then things start coming your way as a parent, or you start work straight away and there's little setbacks that go along, I find it harder to be able to absorb that sort of stuff. If I'm up early, I'm easily able to absorb that with the base that I've put in place there. And then outside of that, depending upon the month I'm in, sometimes I will do an afternoon session. So when training started, Tuesdays and Thursdays training nights with the team. So I will obviously train with those. So, you're talking about anywhere from, 8 plus sessions a week to be able to put in. So devoting some time to that. So, getting up early, starting around about that 5 o'clock mark and getting to a point where you finish by around about 7 o'clock, ready for, to jump into work or family. So I certainly have some goals that I sort of hit off, and that's broken down monthly. Depending upon the month, like I mentioned, it may be a high running one, and the running side of things might be just get through 70 kilometers a week of running. And then from a lifting point of view, I've always just found the 1,000 pound club is something that I probably look to. So being able to lift a total of 455 kilograms across bench press, squat, and deadlift is something that I've found over the years is just a good marker to know that I'm well prepared at the right strength levels to be able to do it. I don't overdo it. Like from a bench point of view, I don't want to bench any more than 120, and I don't do that a lot. But as a marker, that just tells me if I'm capable of doing that, I know that I'm in a good spot. So those type of things, being able to do that, let's say in October once, November 2 reps, December 3 reps, and so on and so forth, until you get to a point where you're through. From a running point of view, it might be that 70 kilometers, but then coming into the season, before getting into training in January, a Bronco test, I want to be getting, before I even turn up to training, I want to be getting a 5:15. I want to be around that mark. So positionally for me, I'm well prepared enough that I can get into training and they can just build on top of that. And then from a weight point of view, I don't overdo anything there, but it's certainly something that I've found that over the years of just getting older is that you just look at food and you seem to put weight on, and it's a great thing. Again, people see that as a negative, but you know, how great is that our body needs less calories and less energy to fuel it and be able to get through a day, which I think, you know, gets lost a lot. But it is a pain in the butt when you like to eat like I do and like most people do. So being pretty strict on a diet point of view, I've found it extremely difficult just to work out and keep to a diet when it's just the goal is looking good. It's, for me, that's something that hasn't come easy. I enjoy working out for a functional purpose, and that is to be able to compete and play rugby league. And the benefit of still competing is that that's there. I find that keeps me really disciplined. Training on a Tuesday and Thursday keeps me disciplined to go there. I'm probably not the most social character going around, so you certainly get a social fix there throughout a community-based club, but also to the discipline it gets to ensure that you're there at those training sessions and that you're well prepared for those training sessions. Some goals and so forth from a weight point of view, I find that, just being at a particular weight, again, there's a non-alignment of focuses with rugby league, and particularly a position I play is that you want to be around about that 98 to 100 kilogram mark to be able to run and get fit and so forth. That inhibits that. It certainly makes it harder. So for me, I see one of probably the big examples of why people stop playing sport because they get injured, and it's normally later on in their career, late 20s into their 30s, where they're probably 20 kilos heavier than what they once were, still trying to do the same things, haven't prepared, their body's a little bit older, and lo and behold, they pick up a serious knee issue or whatever it may be, and then that stops them from playing. From my point of view, is like I want to make sure that I'm not overweight and I'm not carrying any extra that I don't need to carry to be functional to play. So being around that 98 kilogram mark, if I'm sitting at 101, like I mentioned in probably October and November, I'm pushing to try and get lower and make sure that I'm closer to that mark to ensure that I'm not at a point where you're going to not be able to get to the fitness levels you need to, but then also to inhibit your recovery, that extra load carrying that is going to cause on your legs particularly, and then also to any injuries that you may pick up if you are well and truly above your playing weight. But that contradiction of being at a point where you need the momentum and force behind you, playing a contact sport, it's certainly something that makes it harder to be fitter. Recovery-wise, I focus on the basics. So much gets spoken about around compression boots and ice baths and all this sort of stuff. From a recovery point of view, sleep and stretching, and you can probably throw in some foam roller stuff in there. They're my go-tos. If I get an extra hour in my day, I will have a nap or I will sleep longer. That has better recovery outcomes than what compression boots will have or anything like that. It'd be great if I was a professional athlete and all I did and all I focused on was playing the sport that you love and all that. You didn't have family to look after and you had your meals prepared and you weren't running a business and all that. Yeah, great. But from this point of view, it's sort of like I don't need to worry about those, I suppose, gimmicky things that come up. It's not to say that they don't provide some benefits, but certainly compared to sleep and things like that, that's a go-to. My main recovery tool, though, is making sure I'm prepared enough to be able to compete and I don't shock my body that much that it needs to recover. So if you think about getting to a point where you need recovery because your body is physically shocked by what you've just done because you haven't done that a lot, and you get to the point whether it may well be up into injury or whether it is just feeling heavy in the legs or general soreness type thing. If you're at a point where that gap between what you're trying to do when you compete compared to what you've been doing to prepare is big, your recovery is going to be bigger. The reason why I wanted to talk about this stuff was not so much about how to prepare or anything like that, or a training log as such. It was more so to spruik about the benefits of competing and playing a team sport, and challenging yourself to be able to do it while you're in your 30s and 40s. So some of the things that certainly that I find is that is helpful and I get a lot out of is just the value of being part of a team, that shared struggle, the discipline and accountability that goes with not wanting to let each other down, being at training sessions and pushing harder physically because you've got other people at training that you are working alongside, and that camaraderie that comes from that. And just belonging to something bigger than yourself. I think it's a really beneficial thing that I've found is just getting out of your own head and thinking that you're that important. It's just being part of something that's bigger than you are is something that certainly feels good and creates a lot of benefits. Community sport, I can't speak highly enough. And if you've listened to a few of our episodes, it comes up continually about the benefits of team sports and community-based sports. You think about in this day and age, community and how many times do you interact with people that are of a different age, different ethnic background, different professions. You look at a community sports club and there's guys that I'm involved with at the moment. Some are electricians, some are lawyers, some are doctors, some have been to jail, some are prison officers, some are police officers. There's so many different people that you come into contact through playing a community sport, and everyone gets along. And it's crazy just in this day and age how things like that aren't valued as much. But people, particularly if they're hardworking and all about the team, there's no discrimination whatsoever. There will be discrimination if you're not about the team and you're not working hard for the benefit of the team, but it's got nothing to do with skin colors, what you do for a job, where you live or what you've done in your life or any of that sort of stuff. It's very much just about the quality of your character and what you're able to provide for the team. That's something that I really do love, and enables you to build relationships with other people from different walks of life and understand different viewpoints that are around in society. And it's certainly something that I've found that I'm a lot more aware of the older that I've got, and understanding that, working alongside guys that are 17, 18 years of age, that are 26, 27 years younger than me. The weird situation that I'm in is that there's 4 players that are in the team that I'm playing in at the moment that I've also played seasons with their fathers. So that dynamic is just, it's a bit weird, but enables me to be able to think about how I relate to those people, how I can sort of, I suppose, set an example for them in their lives and what they want to do. And if it's something that they enjoy doing, playing team sports or playing any sport, continuing to do that no matter what your age. And just because you've not a kid anymore doesn't mean you need to stop and just work or do whatever. You can actually enjoy your pastimes. The other thing too that I've sort of found over, with my work that I do within different businesses and sporting teams through my business High Performance Leaders, is that the networking that you get through being in a sporting club, the 3 best clients that I've had that have enabled me to my business to continue to grow has been 3 people that I've played rugby league with and have an association with and have known and have built trust up with over a period of time. So, that networking side of things, but you certainly see it from trades that are within a sporting community that they're able to get work. Within a community, you have people that that you can trust, and to get a good plumber or to get someone that can assist or give you a viewpoint or point you in the right direction with something that you're dealing with your life or you need to go through. So that networking side of things and building that trust with people is certainly something that's helped me, and over the past few years has been pivotal to what I'm doing. So that sort of that sort of aspect, again, another one that I've really appreciated later on in still being and competing within a club environment. Another benefit that it's sort of, I suppose, hard to articulate, but those who have played contact sports will get, is that being able to use your body in a contact sport to its physical potential is something that you don't really get anywhere else this day and age. It taps into something that's probably a little bit sort of, old school and ancient in a way, because we don't need to use our bodies physically as much anymore to survive or anything like that. But it's not about necessarily the violence, but being able to challenge yourself to be able to physically be prepared, and particularly with a sport like rugby league, which is, I suppose, different to combat sports, and it's not about a competition by any means, but the ability to be able to do it while you're running, and utilizing your fitness and utilizing your ability to move with our legs, using that half of your body to its full potential through sprinting, agility, jumping, and being able to utilize that is certainly something that I look forward to. And that challenge of being able to do that is something that is pretty cool, just hard to replicate. We don't do it anywhere else, but it's been a big part of, I suppose, historically throughout the evolution of people and human beings that we've had to use. And it's very much something that, we've needed to survive, and that just doesn't get turned off. And I really enjoy that aspect of it, and getting injured and seeing what happens to your body and how you can recover from things like that, and being able to see what you can withstand and seeing how you're able to stop someone and being able to do all those things. Again, not to inflict violence or injuries on people, but to be able to see what you're capable of doing is something that doesn't get spoken about. Mental health wise, I mentioned before, forcing you to get out and be social is something that is again, there's so many benefits. You look at mental health plans and the go-to items there about exercise and social interaction, and you certainly get those in spades within a supporting community. Meeting people from different backgrounds, all that stuff really gives you, I suppose, a feeling of belonging. Again, the benefits of health and fitness and being prepared and structuring and the discipline in your life to not going out and do some things that can really affect your mental health. Having a support network of people that you get along with, that you can actually talk about stuff with or are going through, and you can relate what you're going through with them, and talk about that stuff and just feel better that someone else is dealing with something the same as what you are, and just knowing that that's the case, gives a lot of sort of comfort. So the benefit from a mental health aspect and having a purpose, again, having a purpose from a mental health point of view, understanding that that's really important and can be really beneficial to how you look at things. And then that opens it up to, being an older character and you're around other people, there's a leadership aspect that goes with that as well. It's the benefit of being there and understanding that just because you are older and you've done it before, and if you start spruiking about, okay, well, this is what I do and this is how good I am and this is what I've done in my career, you don't build any relationships and you won't get any respect from people. You'll just be someone that gets sort of giggled at and laughed at. And understanding that you've got to work and lead by example and help people out and support the team, again, is just something that everyone realizes. But the reminders that team sport can have, being able to pass on and set examples to younger people, like I mentioned, the 4 guys that I've had the privilege of playing alongside their fathers, being able to still compete and represent those people that can't play anymore because physically they're unable to through injuries or life or whatever that is. You know, I certainly feel that an honor to be able to, I suppose, represent some older people, and a bit of a badge of honor that I can do that, and I suppose represent people that are a little bit older and still compete against younger people, and hopefully, give a little bit of inspiration to others to continue doing that and do it for longer if they are a bit younger. Certainly gives you the opportunity to be able to give back and pass on the knowledge that you've picked up, that other people have passed on to you or you've picked up along the way. You know, I really love the ability to be able to do that. That's a purpose, gives you a sense of purpose, that you're able to contribute to people's lives and contribute to something that they enjoy. Helping them to be better is certainly something, and giving that gift, it certainly feels really, really good to be able to do that and be in that position. There's so many things that would stop you wanting to compete. Physically, if you're unable to, certainly is a big factor. But if you're still able to physically do it, there's no underlying injury issues there. You may well be overweight, you may well be slow, you may well be different things like that, but those things can be changed if you want to change them and you devote some time and are disciplined with it. That structure that playing sport gives you, and team sports particularly as an accountability mechanism, is so good. There's so many things that make that hard, and the grind of life and different things, but that gets spoken about heaps, and I wanted to highlight the benefits of this, the benefits of the healthy lifestyle, of setting a cool example in regards to still being able to get after it in your 30s and in your 40s is something that's a great thing. Keeping yourself honest and grounded and being able to give back to a community that has given you plenty is something that as you're older you sort of understand a lot more. And probably lastly, the biggest thing that I've sort of found is, as parents particularly, we're always telling our kids what to do. You should do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do this. You know, the team sport aspect and just sport in general and keeping physically fit for children is so much harder than it ever was when we were growing up and previous generations. So role modeling that, not just telling them what to do or what not to eat, actually role modeling that for them and letting that speak, letting those actions speak, is something that I certainly hold in such a high regard. Being able to show my kids that you're not too old, or you can still do things if you want to do them. And if you get enjoyment out of it and it has some benefits and you can balance it, let's go and let's make it happen, is something that I really enjoy. They'll see me working out each morning. They'll see me playing sport, and they'll understand the importance of being functional from a fitness standpoint to be able to do that. That will then dictate how they will lead their lives from that point of view, from the physical and healthy living aspect of it. So beneficial, and certainly I see it as a parent as a responsibility that it should happen, and for kids not to be comfortable from a physical point of view, and give them the life lessons that team sports particularly give.